bonsoir. I'm sorry, but I have to speak English. I understand a little bit French, so I hope to. I probably understood quite everything till now. And yes, you already said that around 2013, after 1 year Macao was born, we started to face this topic of cryptocurrency and alternative economical system. In this situation of and experimentation of this Macao Cultural Center that in Italy was born in a wider mobilization of knowledge worker, cultural worker, artist. And in that moment in Italy, more or less there was on one side a big crisis of the institutional framework for producing art and culture, and on the other side, especially Milan or Venice, there was the rising of these cultural industries power, and so all these people we were part of were basically claiming for an alternative invention of organizational schemes and models, and also a different kind of staying together or sharing time together, because the crisis of institutional dinosaurs without money because of the welfare cuts in the public system, and on the other side, these cultural industries' opportunity to be employed was representing for everyone a crisis of liquidity, of course, but also like very bad condition in for research. Okay, a lot of people in that moment was claiming also to not doing what they were desiring. No, a lot of them with an high level of education, and maybe doing what we called like a multitasking way of life, because maybe they were doing like artwork, video, post-production, and then maybe working in a restaurant, and then maybe still doing a PhD, and and so on. So this desire to invent a way to self-organize and also using new technology in order to be able to conceive an alternative society, an alternative social organization was the topic. That's why we hosted in that moment, as you said, a long gathering of the earlier scene of Bitcoin. There was Jaromil, but also, Amir Taki, Buterin, and Cody Wilson, a lot of them. And we invited also, for example, from MIT stars, Richard Stallman to confront this moment. And of course, Bitcoin in that moment was a strong rupture. It was more clearly than now, a gesture of an anti-system gesture. So, for the first time, we have a technology created by hackers worldwide, safe, and sustainable. Apart from what? The central banks. Apart from the surveillance by corporation and blah blah blah. And this is in a way what now is lacking, no, in the trajectory. And as you said, 1 year later, in the Italian scene of theorists and political economists, activism, we did this like international and national meeting in order to question ourselves what could be the money for the common. No? And we did a critique in that moment to Bitcoin, but now it's quite obvious, but in that moment not. And it was that probably for this proof of work and mining architecture, Bitcoin was very good for financial investment as an asset, very good to be volatile and scarce, and so very good for an alternative financial asset. And this is what happened after a while with hundreds of cryptocurrency, with an alternative cryptocurrency market, in which there was not, after a while, the multitude of no one self-organizing in an alternative financial space, but there was venture capitalism, there was government, there was banks. And in the last years, even worse, no? Really understanding what does it mean when they can control also that infrastructure. So, as also in the blockchain movie was mentioned, it was right. Technology, blockchain in itself is nothing comparing to the political challenge. Okay, and so in this reversing engineering process, we started in Macao, experimenting really the opposite in a way. So adapting with Jaromil, because Common Coin is developed by Freecoin and Freecoin Social Wallet, that is at Dyn.org, the company of Jaromil, products, open source and available for everyone. So the intuition was we have to conceive digital tools in order to provide for the community the capability to self-organize their own currency. Okay, and that's what we started as a pilot in a way 5 years ago. The idea was to engage the community in order to co-design the currency circulation and scheme. And in Macao, one of the first questions was, what is the value for us? Because usually the value is related to a price, no? Products, time, spending. And one question in Macao was, we are an assembly of projects, artistic projects, co-designing the program. And probably this cooperation, this social cooperation, is the real value pot. And how can I decide that the value distribution is based on products, time, no? Probably there is a different possibility to calculate what is the value unit, no? And so we used the scheme of Common Coin in order to experiment different category in order to receive the value distribution. So right now, the Common Coin is distributed in the members, within the members of the organization, depending on a self-evaluation, and inventing different kind of category of production of value. For example, maintenance. So taking care of the relationship of the group is a unit of value. If I spend time, for example, in the queer lab in order to understand how is going on with this gender violence, this is not a product. This is not a time spending in the program. But for the organization is a unit of value of social cooperation. And so people is receiving also for activism, also participating in meetings and in assemblies, and also in management and in the usual, also in the usual task, as we are used to. And then inside the organization does with a common fund, collective shop outside the organization that inside the organization are available for common coin shop. So the people inside the organization receive this money in common coin and then can shop in an inner shop of the organization what the goods and the services that the entire organization buy outside. And where we buy outside in mainly this fair market, the international market based on fair coin, that is another cryptocurrency, but based on different kind of protocols than Bitcoin, and is gathering independent producers worldwide, connecting this cooperative with common coin, this alternative currency, and promoting, like in a cooperative platform, the solidarity in between all these nodes. So we invent a distribution of value inside the organization. We buy with the organization goods in another alternative economic system, and the people inside can buy the goods and the services. And then we can check who is active every month in the social wallet of Common Coin, and depending on that, we distribute a common fund in euro as a basic income. So everyone is in the Common Coin circle, this one. Every month has access to a basic income by the organization in euro, because the organization creates a common fund in euro every month and share this euro fund to all the active common coin wallet in that moment. And then, for example, with Faircop and also Dean and Jaromil group, we created in the last 2 years also this tool that is called Bank of a Common, that is a multi-currency wallet online in which we can, as members of the cooperative, we can operate in crypto, but also in the usual banking system. So we can receive and do payments in SEPA, IBAN, traditional banking system, and also move these assets in Faircoin, also Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we are developing the idea to connect also the social local wallets, like Common Coin. I go faster because this presentation is too long, and I want to pass the mic to Maddalena. But the central topic for us in Macao Common Coin is to face this mirroring in between the co-design of the technology and the social body. Because in a way, we understood that in order to overcome this problem you state in the very beginning, we have to understand what's the space for the becoming human of the machine, and what's the space of our becoming machine as a society, no? Because we have a lot of pattern being a social body, being an organization, but we cannot usually decide, no? How is this coding? For example, we all use Facebook or Amazon, and there's no space of negotiation in order to design the scheme of organization of Amazon or Google, as you very clearly show in the vertical power of shape the geography of the social life. And so this is the space, no? And how to do how to do it with a co-design of the algorithms, the protocols, using blockchain or not, but a technical level, mostly digital and online, and also an offline dimension. For example, a platform like Decidim in Barcelona for voting and direct democracy now is improving a lot this dimension of the all offline meeting, no? And in the offline meeting, we are promoting a lot the idea to understand how to visualize the data. Because we had a lot of discussion in the hacker community in order to have open library, open access to all the repository, but the normal people, the community, are not used to understand, really to understand these contents. And so in this discussion, we understood that we have to negotiate with the people that are user and co-designer how to have the feed of how the organization is working. And so visualization of the data is a central issue. And so, for example, this is an example of how Common Coin is visualized monthly in order to understand how is going on, what are the dynamics, and so on. So, for example, we see the graphics and we comment and we discuss and we change and so on. Also because, yes, right now we did, Alberto Cosso, a researcher also based in Macao in the last years, did a research on the composition in the last years of the traders in the crypto markets, and are mostly exactly the same ethnography of the alt-right populism. So white, male, middle class in crisis, hoping for the Lamborghini tomorrow. Okay? So it's really this kind of individualism no, and competition, male and white, behind the normal use of the blockchain technology mostly. So we have really the challenge to create another environment for the same challenge. So I would like to pass the mic to Maddalena.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so I will quickly finish this presentation on Macao, talking about some keywords or words that I think are crucial when we come to discuss on the possibilities and relationship between technology, communities, bodies, politics, and art. The first one is time. All the low and high technological tools we're talking about within the context of Macao start from the same question, which is how to liberate time into a life drawn by hundreds of shitty and unpaid jobs. To do that, so to stop believing in the premises of impossible future, which are at the basis of an entire economy of exploitation. We should definitely know about it as artists and researchers. We start thinking that the question of time was a central topic. So when we are in a struggle, in fact, the material life is still there. So here comes the importance of sustainable practices and the fact that it's necessary to rethink the value we produce and to build tools in order to redistribute it. These thoughts have to be at the basis when we say that a new economical system is needed. In the 1971, Maria Rosa della Costa, an Italian feminist, wrote on the Woman and the Subversion of the Community pamphlet, to have time means to work less. Sorry, I do it. And indeed, we think that we need all this time. So, how do we save time in order to have the capability to disrupt what are our common perceptions on value and work? And finally, how we rethink those perceptions, putting at the center practices of self and collective care as a radical act with which imagine new forms of social production and reproduction. The second word is care. Rethinking the value in a collective way, as Emanuele was saying before, for me is one of the most radical act we have been experienced in Macao since the beginning. And this act has produced, not surprisingly, a process of visibilization of the necessity amount of time that we need for the caring of and the maintenance of relationship within a community that wants to rethink the production in a more pleasurable and sustainable way. Starting from here, to give visibility and income to the work of collective maintenance of an anti-capitalistic space means to put the condition for social reproduction to be less exploited. And more, to give visibility and income to the huge amount of work that you find, that a community performs to counteract any form of absorbed violence and any form of classist, sexist, and racist abuse means to recognize that care work is a job which takes time and which can't be unpaid or secondary anymore. So the rethinking of the value together through this community-based basic income and this virtual coin has put at the center the John Jordan idea of radical ethic of care as a condition of existence of a political community. As Sulamit Firestone wrote, we want our mean of reproduction back, not just the means of production. And I think this is an important topic when we design assemblages with new technologies, when we want to design technologies that are not fostering or automating inequalities or centralizing our value. In these images here, during the H March of 2018 in Milan, we were shouting that we want money for all the amount of hours spent to design sustainable habitat between humans and modern humans. Such as the wage of housekeepers movement from the 70s, we know that we need to start from visibility to be recognized. But if it's clear how to strike from productive works, it's indeed less clear how to strike from reproductive work. For this reason, we put social reproduction in the center when we design new technology with the idea to reshape society or our relationships. This comes because we think that we will have a lot of work to do in a post-work society to keep our community pleasurable, and this is mainly the reason why we think we need a universal basic income. So this universal basic income, some feminists call it self-determination basic income or activist basic income to underline how much we all need to engage more and more in these specific activities. At the early beginning of Macao, we start thinking on technology to redistribute value, firstly because we need to sustain activism in a phase of severe precariousness and to give the possibility to more people to say no to some shitty job, as I was saying before. In the manifesto we wrote, the 8th March, the main issue were how to automatize joyless works and which are joyless jobs and for whom. The third word is rituals. So to deeply understand these issues above, we need to work also, I think, on a somatic level, using the performative as a methodology. We need to work not just on our minds, but also on our bodies in order to detox from the centrality of the main economic system and how it plays on our life, the god of the finance. So we need to involve our bodies as well, because I think it's important to give centrality to pleasure as a key aspect to come out from this necropolitical government we are living in that is shaping our ideas, language, fears, and finally our perception of satisfaction. So in order to detox from all this, I would call it shit, we need to think how can a community become sexy and how cooperation can be sexy. Last year, in a festival, a Sant'Arcangelo festival, which is in a little town of Italy, we introduced a crypto local coin into a little town, this Sant'Arcangelo, and the coin was called Santa Coin, similar to common coin. We decided to contact all inhabitants who deal with the well-being of the body or healers in general to develop an intervention in the public space that holds this connection together, the construction of a circular economy and the offer of services for the well-being of the community. So we built some rituals of care, we call it crypto rituals, as the ideal place to play for money and has a performative space for the production of commons. What is interesting to focus on is the cultural impact of bodies that a performance like this can produce. Bodies that are learning together how to change the rule of finance while practicing self and collective care. I will end with a last but not least word. I want you to think more about it, which is pleasure, meaning the understanding of the role of pleasure in all the political and artistical activity we do. Thanks.